Have you ever had the desire to make a massive impact through your giving? Like you wanted to give to your favorite charity, you want to give to your favorite church, you want to rescue orphans, you want to do all this amazing stuff with your giving and make a gigantic impact, but maybe you haven't been able to just quite yet because your finances just aren't there where they need to be yet? Well, I submit to you, the people that want to make a gigantic impact but haven't yet with their giving, it's probably because they still believe that charity is more important than business. Well, in today's video, I'm gonna be proving to you why starting a business is way, way better than giving to charity. What does that mean? We're talking all about it in the video today. Stay tuned. Well, before we jump into the training today, guys, I want to give a huge shout out to Rabbi Daniel Lapin and his book, Thou Shalt Prosper. I have to be honest, I've read this book probably 3 or 4 times over the past handful of years, and I'm starting to read through it again here recently, and I love this book. If you're not familiar with Rabbi Lapin, he is a Jewish businessman and consultant who teaches business and wealth principles from the Bible, specifically through the lens of the Jewish perspective. I would highly recommend that you go check out this book. It's one of his older ones, but it is still fantastic. And honestly, I have no affiliation right now. I mean, Rabbi Lapin has been a mentor from afar, you know, through his books and his teachings for years, but I have no affiliation. I just highly suggest his book. It's absolutely phenomenal. Go check it out. So here's what I'm not saying. I'm not saying that giving to charity is bad, okay? In fact, my wife and I love to give to our favorite charities, our favorite churches. We love to give, okay? What I am saying is that charity is not possible without business, okay? Here's why. Many people forget about the beauty and the power and the blessing that business brings to their lives on a day-to-day basis. Think about this. Let's come to the board, okay? So, for instance, okay, how many of you guys and gals would love to walk 47 miles a day just to get around where you want to go? Not me, right? So guess what? Somebody invented a business where they sell cars, right? How many of you guys and gals would love to just go around like Adam and Eve with no clothes on, completely naked? No one would want to do that. So thank God somebody invented a business where they sell clothes, right? How many of you guys and gals would love to starve and not have anything to drink? And how many of you guys would love to not have any food for your family on a week-to-week basis? No one, right? Well, thank God somebody started a business where they sell groceries. How do you spell it? Groceries. There you go. Where they sell groceries, right? How many of you guys and gals would love to live with aches and pains in your teeth? Like, how many of you would love to, whenever you smash your tooth and your tooth chipped, that you would love to just keep a chipped tooth for the rest of your life? No one, right? So thank God somebody started a business. I am talking and trying to spell at the same time. It's not going good. Started a business selling dentistry work. The examples just go on and on and on and on about how business has brought such blessing to each and every one of our daily lives. In fact, you're probably watching this video right now on your smartphone or possibly on a computer screen or a TV screen, but mostly on a smartphone. And thank God that somebody invented this product and had a business to sell us this incredible product that makes our life better, right? Then why is it that so many people have this false mindset around the subject and the issue of business when business is the very thing that enriches and blesses each and every one of our lives on a daily, consistent basis, right? So it's not just like, oh man, if you have a business, you're greedy or whatever. No, business is very, very good because business is God's idea of how to move things in the economy, how to serve one another. And I'm telling you right now, it is next to impossible, if not impossible, to give to charities, to build orphanages, to rescue orphans, to build the building fund, to send the team on the mission trip without finances. And how do people get finances? Well, think about this. The only reason why anyone has any money anywhere on the planet right now is because somebody somewhere sold something in their business for a profit. It doesn't matter what nation you're living in. It doesn't matter what profession you're in. Even if you're a secretary, you're making money because the business you work for is selling something for a profit. If you're a barista, it's because you're making money because that coffee shop is selling coffee for a profit. Grocery stores, like these examples here on the board, grocery stores are selling groceries for a profit. Dentists, they're doing business for a profit. Clothes, cars, every single part of our life, whether you own the business or whether you work in the business, the only way anyone has any money anywhere is because somebody is conducting business and making a profit. So with that being said, if you want to make this gigantic impact with your giving, like, oh man, I wish we could give more. Oh man, I wish we could help more. Oh, I wish we could do this, or I wish we could do that. Instead of wishing and instead of hoping and instead of just praying that God poofs money into your account, that's what most believers' mindset is when it comes to money. Like, I'm just gonna pray harder and God's gonna supernaturally dump a bunch of money in my account. It's not how it works, okay? God has instituted a way for his people and for humanity to generate wealth, to generate income, and it is through the place of business. Okay, think about this. I'm going to read you a quick story here. So there's a man by the name of John Walton. Okay, so maybe you've heard of this little business called Walmart. Okay, so Sam Walton, the founder of Walmart, his son John Walton, okay, he and a business partner started a foundation called the Children's Scholarship Fund. And the Children's Scholarship Fund scholarships 34,000 underprivileged kids per year who, for those who desire to go to a private school and aren't able to because they're underprivileged, this charity, this foundation, it makes it possible for over 30,000 kids per year to get a better, higher education. Now think about this. Like, this guy and his charity and his business partner would not be able to do this kind of work. They would not be able to make this kind of impact on society. Think about this. 34,000 kids per year going to a nice private school. The education quality is much higher, right? Like, think about the impact that that's having on culture. Like, he's doing this from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade every single year. And none of this is possible if the guy didn't have some money, right? Like, most people, the reason why they're not able to give at the level that they want to give is because, like I said earlier, they still think that, like, giving to charity is more important than starting a business. But I submit to you, it is not more important. Okay, why? Because you can't give to the charity if you don't have the funds to give, right? This is why I'm always talking to you guys and gals on my trainings here on YouTube. Okay, I'm always talking to you about why I just want just enough. I don't want to have to go start a business. I'm not that greedy. I don't want a ton of money. Like, that makes you greedy. Or people who have a ton of money, like, they're less holy than people who don't have any money at all. Why is this a false and terrible mindset to have? Because the punchline is this: if you only have just enough, then you are not able to take care of anybody else. Like, think about that. If you just have enough for you and yours, how are you going to help the person in need? Oh, I wish we could give to you, but we barely have enough. That's not how God works. God wants to pour out abundance. He wants to pour out finances, wealth. He wants to pour out prosperity in our minds, right? You have to, I always say it like this to my students: you have to become a millionaire in your mind before you become a millionaire in your bank account, right? You got to start thinking differently about what God says about money, wealth, about finances, okay? And so when you begin to understand that, wow, I need to get a bigger vision than just myself. I just want to be comfortable. I just want to have enough for me and mine. I don't want to have too much because then I'll be greedy. No, it's completely false. God wants to show his people how to step into this place of financial abundance, how to step into this place of being stewards of great wealth, not just a little bit of leftovers. I'm talking about stewards of great amounts of wealth. But it's not going to happen if we continue to limit God by limiting our mindsets around this subject of like, well, I don't want to have too much. Like, you know, we don't want to be greedy like that. I don't want to start a business. Business owners, they're wicked, right? Not every dentist is wicked. Not every grocery owner is wicked. Not every clothes designer or car manufacturer is wicked, right? I'm sure some are, but a lot of them aren't. You need to understand that the purpose of business is simply to exchange value in the form of you solving somebody's problem and them telling you thank you for solving my problem in the form of dollar signs, okay? It's a $100 bill right here. Now think about this, okay? Come back here with me to the board. Hey, I really hope that you're enjoying the video. I want to invite you guys. I have recently created a free training teaching people how to make money online. My students are literally making anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 a month, and some of them even make hundreds of thousands of dollars, not in a year, but in a single day. If you want more information on how you can get started, all you need is a phone and a laptop. You can go to digitalproductacademy.org, or you can click the link below in the description. Guys, after you watch the free training, if it sounds like it might be something cool for you to check out, you can book a free call with one of my client success coaches, and they'll be able to help you more. Now, back to the video. Remember we talked about earlier, like, aren't you thankful that you don't have to walk a bajillion miles every day, right? So guess what you did? You had a problem, and this car manufacturer solved it, and you said, thank you so much for solving my problem. And you said thank you with your dollar signs, right? This business did a good thing because they solved your problem. Aren't you glad you don't have to walk around with no clothes on, just like Adam and Eve? So you said thank you to these clothing companies by giving them your dollar sign. And guess what? They're not wicked, right? They did something good. They solved a problem for humanity. Aren't you glad you and your family don't have to starve every week? You said thank you with your dollar signs, right? They didn't do a bad thing, they did a good thing. Dentists who fix your teeth and your toothaches, and on and on and on, right? These businesses solve people's problems, okay? And the way that people say thank you is with their dollar signs. I tell this story from time to time, but I was in Israel a handful of years ago, and I had the privilege of sitting down and having a Shabbat dinner with a Jewish business friend of mine who was a billionaire. Okay, with a B, all right? And we're sitting there having this beautiful dinner on this rooftop one night, and I decided I'm gonna ask him some questions about business because he's way more advanced in business than I am. So I asked him, I said, you know, let me ask you a question. Why is it that Jewish people, I know it's not 100% across the board, but for the most part, why is it that Jewish people are so blessed when it comes to their finances? And I obviously understand like God's made a covenant with Jewish people, with his people, and you know, I know that that plays a part, but is there like a natural reason? Like, is there something that Jews do different than everybody else in the world that causes them to excel in business and in finances and in wealth? And without blinking, he just looks back at me and he says, yes, it's because we are obsessed with exchanging value. We're obsessed with solving people's problems. Like, this guy got it, man. He understood the way that God has designed wealth to work in the world is that if you can start a business that solves somebody's problems on a very amazing high level. I always tell my students this: one of the best ways to get wealthy is to find a big group of people and to obsess over solving their problems more than they obsess over the problem itself, right? And so he goes, man, we're obsessed with exchanging value. We're obsessed with trying to solve other people's problems because, and then he went on to say, because we know that the more problems we can solve for people, then the byproduct is the more money we will make and we will steward over just by simply solving people's problems. I want to submit an idea to you, okay? Whatever you do as a profession right now, whether you are a secretary, maybe you're a car salesman, right? Maybe you're a nanny, whatever it is, right? Maybe you mow lawns, whether you're a business owner or whether you are not a business owner, whether you're an employee or wherever you're at in the workforce, okay? The paycheck that you make, the money that you have is a direct sign of how well you serve people. Think about that. The money that you have right now, whether it's a lot or whether it's a little, is a direct sign of how well you serve people, okay? And so if you want to be able to give these massive amounts to charity and make these huge impacts and send the group to the missions trip and rescue the orphans and do all this amazing stuff, then you've got to begin to obsess over solving more problems, solving bigger problems, so that you can begin to have people tell you thank you in a bigger way with more dollar signs, right? Like the bigger problem you solve, the more money you can make. In fact, it's so interesting. I want to tell you this story here. Come with me here to the board. Check this story out, okay? So some of you guys and gals may know this, but for 20 years, okay? For 20 years, I was an itinerant missionary and worshiper, and we were in 79 different nations. I've been to 79 nations, okay? And we are traveling like crazy, like many, many times, 250 days a year, okay? And we did this for 20 years, okay? And that's a lot, right? And so we were out there, we were going for it. We were rescuing orphans and, helping ministries and doing these nights of worship and doing all this amazing stuff. And I loved every second of it, okay? And I still do, right? But here's the crazy part about this, okay? As big of an impact that we would make here, I mean, there were many times that we would go to, gigantic stadiums and like shake these stadiums with, evangelism and worship and all this cool mission stuff. And there were also many times where I'd be able to go into less fortunate areas like in Asia. I'd go to trash dumps and I'd take teams, whole entire teams with me. And we'd go and we'd help these orphans who their parents just dumped them off in the trash and they would just have to live in the trash dumps. We did everything from the stadium to the trash dump and everything in between, right? And we did this for 20 years and it was awesome. And we were able to make a pretty significant impact. But watch this, okay? When my wife and I started our business, okay? This is when we were doing the charity work, okay? And when I say charity work, most of what we were doing here, most of the income in this phase of our journey was donations, right? We're missionaries, right? Yes, we make a little here, a little there from a night of worship, or maybe some of my music would sell or whatever it was. But for the most part, it was charity, okay? But then when we started our business, okay, even though I've been an entrepreneur since I was 16 years old, we got serious about business 7 years ago, okay? And in 7 years, okay, not only have we been able to make an impact, but this past year, again, it's hard for me to spell, impact. There it is. Last year, we were able to make the biggest impact that we have ever made ever, because we have thriving businesses now that make profit. I sell things that solve people's problems for a profit, like unashamedly, right? And look, here's the thing. I'm not trying to push a sale down anyone's throat, like you better buy from me. It's just, hey, you got this problem? I can help solve it. And if you want me to solve it, here's how much it costs to get your problem solved. And if you don't want to get your problem solved from me, cool. You can find somebody else who could solve your problem as well, right? Because now that I have a thriving business where I solve people's problems and I make a profit on the top of my business, guess what? This past year, my wife and I were able to make the biggest impact. I'm talking about 20 plus years of like grinding on the road, almost 100 different nations. Like, that was awesome. But guys, last year we were able to do much more. We were able to make a much larger impact simply because we now have the funds to be able to do it. And I'm not saying any of this to boast, and obviously I'm not going to go into detail about who we gave to and what we gave and what we did, but just trust me, we were able to make the most massive impact we've ever been able to make in the history of us, in the history of my adult life, right? And how was I able to do this? Not because of a handout of people giving to me, that was awesome, but because I actually began to understand that in order for us to really make gigantic impacts, we have got to start having the funds to do it. And we're not going to have the funds to do that by only, oh God, please give me money, right? That's awesome. And it's completely great and it's completely noble to ask God for help, to ask God, Lord, give me money. But I think a better prayer, instead of God, give me money, is God, give me the wisdom on how to, watch this, God, give me the wisdom on how to make the money. God, give me the wisdom on how to, I cannot spell today, manage the money. And God, give me wisdom on how to multiply the money. See, most people, they have this desire to give this big amount, or they want to do this big impact. I wish we can give so much more, but this is all we can do. Why is that all you can do? Because that's all you have. Remember this false idea about like, well, I just want enough because we don't want to be too greedy, right? But what if you were to have an overflow? What if you were to have so much abundance that, like Paul tells us in Corinthians, to where every single opportunity that we would be able to step into what he calls the grace of giving. How many of you know that you can't just step into the grace of giving if you're the one who has a need, right? Like I'm so in lack. God, we need a miracle. Well, of course, if you're the one needing a miracle, how in the world are you going to help somebody else, right? If you're the one that's lacking, how are you going to be able to be generous to somebody else? Guys, we've got to get our mindset right about this. We have to change, it's my conviction, we have to change our prayers from God, please give me money. That's an okay prayer, but I think a better prayer is, God, give me the wisdom. God, give me the wisdom on how to make money, how to manage money, and how to multiply money so that I can be able to give and impact the way that I desire to give and to impact. In order for you to step in to this reality where you could become the most amazing giver and make the most amazing impact that you could have ever imagined, like what would it feel like to be able to, man, I wish we could give this charity just $10,000. What would it feel like to just write the check and not even think about it, like not even worry, right? Because you've created so much wealth in your business that's part of what the business is there for. Guys, this is how it works. In fact, here in just a moment, I want to give you guys a 3-step formula that if you step into this formula, okay, you will be able to become that person who's able to give like no other, and be able to give not just like, man, I wish we could, but just say, oh, how much do you need? Okay, here you go. And what's needed over here? Great, let's do that. And who needs to be rescued in what country? Okay, cool, let's do this. Guys, I'm telling you, this can be a reality for you. I know this because I've seen it in my own life. I've seen it in my mentors' lives. I've seen it in my students' lives. I've seen it in people who grasp what I'm about to show you. Okay, when they grasp this, everything begins to change. Okay, so come with me here to the board and let's wrap up with these couple more thoughts. So there is a system, okay, that I like to call, in fact, let's break it down like this. Be, do, have. Okay? So there is a gentleman, if you're not familiar, is a gentleman by the name of Jim Rohn who popularized this idea, okay? But the idea is this, okay? If you can become more, then you can do more. And if you can do more, then you can have more. And I would like to take it a little bit further than this and say it like this. When you become who God has called you to become, then you can do what God has called you to do. Then you can have what God has called you to have. But watch this. When you become more, then you can do more. Then you can have more. And guess what? After these 3 things happen, then you can give more. So when you become who God has called you to become, then you can do what God has called you to do, then you can have what God has called you to have, then you can give how God has called you to give. Okay? But a lot of people have this idea backwards. Watch this. Okay? A lot of people start here wishing that they had something, right? Like, oh man, I wish we could go on this vacation. I wish we could give more. Oh, I wish we were able to help more, right? And so most people start in the have, and the problem with the have is this. If you start on the have, guess what? You have not done what it takes in order to have the thing. Okay, so if there's something that you desire, to have, if there's something that you desire to give, but you're not able to do it yet, it's because you have not done the work that it takes in order to give that or to have that. And if you've not done the work, it's because you have not yet become the person that it takes in order to do the work, in order to have the thing, in order to give how you want to give. So instead of, let me say it like this, instead of trying to start from over here and work your way this way, right? Man, I wish we could do this. I wish we could do that. Like, man, maybe one day, instead of trying to work your way that way, what you need to do is start here and become the person that it takes so that you can do the work required, so that you can have the thing that God wants you to have, so that you can give the way that God wants you to give. Okay, so let me break all of this down here. Just a few more moments. Okay, so what does all of this mean? Okay, so be, right? How do you become more? Okay, number one, you've got to invest in yourself, man. You know, most people who are broke, most people who wish they could give more, who wish they could make a bigger impact, but they're just not able to. One of the reasons that's happening is because most people would rather buy things that are just things. They would rather spend, you know, $30 on a dinner instead of purchasing 3 books for $30 to invest in their knowledge, right? A lot of people would rather spend time binge watching Netflix for 3 or 4 hours on a Friday night than purchasing a course for $1,000 and binge watching the course for 3 or 4 hours to sharpen their skills, right? Like, here's the thing. You're never going to be able to give the way that you desire to give if you don't have enough to give, right? And the way that you have what it's required to give is you have to do the work, but you can't do the work until you become the person, right? So you've got to change your mindset. Listen, if you are making less than $250,000 a year right now, you are too broke to binge watch Netflix, period. If you're making less than $250K a year right now, you are too broke to sit around and play video games. You're too broke to go out and just always be chilling out, having brunch, and just like, let's go flippantly hoo-ha, right? Like, you have got to invest in yourself. You got to grow your mindset. I always tell my students like this: the more you learn, the more you earn. In fact, I need at least 10 people in the comments. Come on, drop that in the comments. The more you learn, the more you earn. In fact, it's really, really powerful because the more you learn, it's just a matter of time until that L falls off and you start to earn, okay? So what's another way that you can become, right? Number one, you got to invest in yourself. Number two, okay? You have got to, actually, let me say it differently, okay? You got to sharpen your skills. Part of the reason why you're not able to give the way that you desire to give right now is because you have not become a person that's valuable enough to solve enough problems for people to where they're willing to pay you enough so that you can give the way you want to give. You've got to sharpen your skills, man. Even King Solomon told us in the book of Ecclesiastes that if the axe is not sharp, it's going to take way more effort to chop down the tree. What you should do instead is sharpen the axe head so that the work is much easier. How are you going to sharpen the axe head? Just like I said, you got to invest in yourself, right? You've got to sharpen your skills. Let's move on here, okay? So now that you're investing into yourself, how are you going to do this? You're going to hire coaches. You're going to hire mentors. You're going to invest in courses. You're going to read books instead of entertainment, right? That's going to lead to your skills being sharpened. When your skills become sharpened, guess what? You can now start putting in the reps, right? So how do you do the work? I just gave it away. You've got to start putting in the reps. See, most people believe that doing the work is the hard work. But the reality is this: becoming the person is actually the hard work. And one of the ways that you become the person that it takes in order to do the work, to have the stuff, and to give the way you want to give, is you have got to put in the reps. See, a lot of times people don't understand that you think you're doing the work and you are working on your business. But the punchline is your business is actually working on you. The more you are trying to figure it out, the more you're leveling up your skills, the more you're investing into yourself, and the more you take action towards, man, I'm going to figure this money thing out. I'm not just going to be stuck here. I desire to give. I desire to make a massive impact, and the only way I'm going to be able to do that is if I have enough to do that. So I need to learn how to serve people at a higher level. I need to start a business. I need to start charging people to solve their problems so that they can pay me and I can make a profit, right? So you've got to start putting in the reps. Like, you've got to start putting in the reps. Here's my question to you. Who would have a greater chance at hitting a home run in baseball? Would it be the person who tried to swing at the ball one time? Or would it be the person who has tried 1,000 times at swinging at the ball? Of course, it's the person who's had 1,000 at-bats, right? The more reps you put in, the more you actually become skilled and the more you become the person. This is all tied together, okay? So you got to put in the reps, okay? Number 2, I'll just give you 2 points on each one for the sake of time. Number 2, don't give up when it gets hard, man. The difference between those who are successful, those who are able to give the way that they desire to give, and people who are not successful and people who are not able to give the way that they desire to give, is that the ones who are giving the way they desire to give and they're successful, they just simply didn't give up. They committed, I'm going to figure this thing out, and whatever it takes, I am going to figure this out, because there are people out there hanging in the balance, right? There are people out there hanging in the balance, waiting for me, waiting for you to become more so that we could do more, so that we could have more, so that we could give more. Hey, real quick, if you've made it this far into the video and you're liking it, do me a favor, share this video with somebody that you think might also receive some value. My biggest heart in this channel is to simply bring some awareness, financial literacy, and do it all from a biblical perspective. So go ahead and share the video, like and subscribe, do all that stuff too. Back to the video. After you've invested in yourself, after you sharpen your skills, after you start growing, after you start putting in the reps, when you don't give up, okay? Now you can begin to make the money. I'll give you 3 on this one. Then you can learn how to manage the money. Then you can learn how to multiply the money, okay? So now you have this incredible ability to make, manage, and multiply, right? So now I'm making it, okay? Because I've become the person and I've done the work. Now I'm making it, okay? And now that I'm making it, I want to learn how to manage it, right? Because even the Bible says a fool and his money will soon be separated, right? Don't be a fool, right? If you want to make the impact with your giving, you got to get this stuff, man, right? So you got to learn how to make it, then you got to learn how to manage it, then you got to learn how to multiply. That's part of the having, okay? And then, of course, all of this leads to the giving. And guys, you can give to your favorite charities. You can give to your favorite churches. You can give to people, right? You can give to organizations, right? You can build orphanages, etc., 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 right? So why am I saying all this to you, okay? Because the punchline is this. It takes money to rescue orphans. It takes money to build orphanages. It takes money to build schools. It takes money to build hospitals. It takes money to build churches. It takes money to make the impact that I know that you desire to make. Because especially if you've made it this far in the video, you're tracking with me, right? In fact, if you're tracking with me, drop it in the comments, say, that's me, that's me, that's me. If you're really getting something, if the light bulbs are turning on, like, wow, I got to think of this whole giving thing and this whole impact thing different, right? That's why I told you at the beginning of the video that business is more important than charity. I'm not saying don't give. I love to give. I'm saying you should desire to, and you deserve to give at the levels that you want to give at, right? But you're not going to get there if you don't have the funds to do it. So here's my punchline to you, okay? If you want to give more and make a bigger impact than you've ever thought possible, then you must start a business that serves lots of people and solves lots of problems and makes lots of profit, so then you can give like no one else, and you can give like you've never even dreamt imaginable in your entire life, okay? Guys, thank you so much for watching this training. If you liked it, make sure to like and subscribe, hit the bell, and if you want to continue to see more content like this, stay tuned for the next video here on the screen, and we'll see you in the next training.